Hi YouTube, this is Joe Calton with Calton Cutlery. You can visit me on the web, caltoncutlery.com. So today's an exciting one. You know, I guess they're all exciting, right? I mean, if you're not excited about being in the shop, then why be there? And if you're not excited about watching somebody in the shop, then why watch it, right? So, today we are going to do kydex necker sheaths. Whole bunch of different ways to do these, but I'm going to show you my way. And it's a pretty good way. I mean, there's no rattle, there's no dropping, but yet pulls real easy. Goes back in, gives you that nice little click. Maybe I'll give you an up close of what it is that we're going to build here. We got some nice definition going on in here. On this side right here, you can even see the end of the ricotta or the finger choil there. This has got it's a clamshell design, you know, so you fold it over. We got 4 rivets. They're hollow rivets. This is the way that I normally carry a necker, unless I'm out kayaking or something like that where I have a hard time getting to my hips. I usually just take the neck cord, run it through in a crisscross pattern, and then tie off all the extra cord on the back. And then you just run your belt through this loop and this loop, and it makes a nice high ride flat package, you know, for in-town type carry. Hides really well if you want to hide it. You know, real positive sheath. And then this one, well, all of my necker sheaths, I do this part right here a little bit different, and you'll see this on the finished one. But instead of the neck cord going through these rivets, because I use paracord. Paracord's pretty strong stuff. Now I stripped the inner pieces out of it, but it's still really strong stuff. So you take paracord and you run it through some rivets like this inside a kydex, and you know, you get that caught on something around your neck, you're hosed. I mean, you're just done there. I mean, that paracord will choke you to death, and it won't even come close to breaking. So what I do is I make this little safety feature right here so that the cord actually comes through the sides, which remind me about that when we make the new one. I'll show you how all that works. It's got a breakaway feature and everything, and heck, we're going to build the thing anyway. So that's the little necker. Just a little bitty Damascus 1095 and 15N20 random pattern, 300 layer-ish, something like that. One side's really nice looking, and the other side is just kind of plain. But that's what you get with random patterns, and I believe that is Bolivian rosewood with some brass pins. Anyway, so away we go. Alright, so first things first, keep this video as short as I can, even though I don't think any of my videos are really short. Build you one of these, okay? All it is some galvanized roof flashing, okay? And it is bent into a, I don't even know what kind of shape you would call that. So anyway, you bend it like this, kind of like a maze sort of deal, okay? And then you make some cuts at the end, in the corners here. And then you bend down little tabs right here. Okay. What this does is it acts like a double boiler. What we're going to do here in a second is we are going to take our preform and we set this whole thing into the toaster, and then we take our preform and we put it inside right there and let it bake. What that does is it protects the kydex from the direct heat from the heating elements in the toaster. Okay, so let's get that into the toaster. Bring you over here so you can see the toaster. We will get it into the toaster. We'll get a new preform in there. And then we will talk time and temperatures. So we have a preform here, which I'll show you how to make in just a second. Preform goes over the shop dog into your little double boiler in the toaster setup. Then we come over here. We have a timer set for 7 minutes. We'll start that. Now we got a little bit of time to talk. Okay, so time and temperature. kydex is all about time and temperature. You have to have enough temperature and enough time for that heat, whatever your heat source is, to get through to the center of your piece of kydex. Alright? So that the kydex gets to the proper working and forming temperature. Alright? If it's too hot, you'll get this kind of glazed over look that really isn't all that attractive, and I think it kind of weakens the material. If you don't get it hot enough, then what happens is it doesn't form right. You don't get that nice close fit and everything. So my times and temperatures, I don't know if you guys have ever noticed these, but I have these little index cards here, and they're usually on a nail up underneath the safety glasses on the wall and the shelf right there. So this one says kydex new digital toaster. 300 degrees Fahrenheit at 4 minutes is too hot, but 275 degrees for 7 minutes with a 14-minute rest in between is about perfect. Now, you guys know from my other videos where I talk about tempering knives that you always should have 2 oven thermometers in the toaster that's dedicated to that toaster. Okay, so when I set this at 275 degrees, that upper thermometer should read 305 and the lower thermometer should read 250. Okay, don't get hung up on those numbers. All right, oven thermometers and toasters are all very inaccurate. Okay, so what you do is you use the same oven thermometers in the same positions in the same toaster. All right, now if my toaster would ever to burn out, or that one when it does burn out, because I've burned out quite a few of them, this 275, that's just the setting to get these two temperatures. Okay, so if that toaster goes out and I go to Walmart and I pick up another one, then I will take that new toaster, put it in place, put the oven thermometers in there, and then adjust the setting until I read roughly 305 up and 250 down. If those are the same oven thermometers from the old toaster as are in the new toaster, then everything should be approximately the same. If you lose the whole setup, you have to start from scratch. You start off with scrap pieces, stick them in your toaster at roughly 300 degrees, time it. 7 minutes seems to be kind of the magic number around this shop. 7 minutes is not only for the kydex, it's also the soak time for the 1095 neckers in the kiln. There's a couple other things that run on 7 minutes around here. But and then using your thermometers, you know, then you can always duplicate that temperature if you need to. Okay, so we got 3 minutes and 47 seconds until it's time to pull that one out. So we're going to start by making the preform, and I think it'd probably be best if I put you right here. Okay, so oh, I forgot. I usually get my kydex like this, 12 by 12 sheet, I believe. 12 by 12 sheet. For neckers, I like the thin stuff. I think it's 60 thousandths. That's more than enough, because remember, it's going to be doubled. To make these preforms, what I do is I take a ruler, measure 2 inches in from the side, and cut that off. I typically use a bench shear. It's cleaner, it's faster. You can score it and bend it back and forth till it breaks off, but the bench shear works the best. Okay, take a 2-inch wide strip off one side, turn it sideways, and what is left, this 10 inches that is left, 10 by 12, take 2-inch strips off of it. No waste, perfect size for these neck knives. If you're doing your own knives, you'll just have to kind of play around with your patterns until you get it right. So, this is one of the short strips. Okay, now to make the preform, I use a paint stripper. I suppose a hair dryer might work also. But I use a paint stripper. I've got 2 wooden blocks. These are just 1/2 inch, I don't know, 4 inches wide and 6 inches long for one of them. and a clamp. Okay, it's going to get loud. What you do is you heat up the middle portion, okay, until it starts becoming pliable. Then you bend it in half, clamp it up in between the two blocks, and put the clamp on it and let it cool. Okay? Okay, so now what we did is we folded it in half and we formed it with a nice crease right there. Okay, that crease will actually relax while it's in the oven, but that doesn't matter. All we're doing right now is we're making a preform. Okay, so you let that sit for a while. We'll be done with the paint stripper until it's time to form the neck loops. We got 40 seconds, so we will go over this a little bit. Okay, so this is my clamping setup, and you'll see a little bit more of it here in just a minute. Okay, all it is two pieces of 3/8 or 1/2 inch plywood, whatever you got, and the kydex forming foam that you can get from Jant's, USA Knife Maker, pretty much any of those places. I cut this to size. It's 4 inches by 8 or 10 inches, maybe, something like that. And then I just glued the forming material to the plywood. Okay, now count the number. We're going to go 1, 2 revolutions on the vise. Pull it back a little bit, pull it up, split it open. There's the last one I did. We're going to grab the new knife, pull your kydex out of the oven, see how it's loose and floppy. Put the knife in and then kind of pull the point back to that first rivet. Center everything up, get it in the right position, put it down. Now from here on you got to squeeze pretty good. Squeeze it, put it into the vise, go 1, 2 revolutions. Hit the start stop button on the timer. It'll pull up another 7 minutes. You hit the go baby go button. Okay, now, so the way I do it is the kydex is heated for 7 minutes. You put the blade in, you clamp it up, and then you keep it clamped up for 2 sets of 7 minutes, so 14 minutes. Okay, that gives that kydex, the slower you can cool that kydex or let it come down to temperature, I think the better fit up you're going to get. You know, it's all about time and temperature with kydex, so you'll have to play with it in your own shop and everything to decide what you like. But anyway, what you end up with is this. But we're going to set that aside for a moment because I'm trying to go in order, but slipping the kydex in there so that we don't have to wait for 14 minutes at the end. Okay, so we got our preform made, right? Now this one right here is just, when I do this, I typically you know, I'll cut like, I don't know, 2 or 3 sheets worth of kydex, and that way it's all ready to go for the next batch. Okay, so now the second step of the preform here. Sorry I'm bouncing around, just trying to make the video a little bit quicker. Okay, so this is the preform that we stuck into the toaster. And this is the way the knife sits up inside there. See the knife blade in between the 2 rivets? Okay, so what we need to do is take our flat preform here. See how it's nice and springy? Okay, and locate those 2 rivets. So we're going to kind of hold the knife in position there. That's about the position that we're going to want. Alright, get the tip up nice and close to the inside of that crease, but leave some of it, because remember there's a 1/16 of an inch from the edge of that down that's going to be straight up kydex, and a little bit for the curve. Okay, so we're going to put one rivet about there, and we're going to put another rivet about there. Okay, so now what we do is we come over the drill press, and we're just going to drill them 2 holes. Okay, that's with a 3/16 inch bit. Now I think now would be about the right time to go over your rivets. Okay, so the rivets I'm using with these are, I believe these are from Jantz. KE131. Kydex eyelets, there's 20 of them to a package. Black, 3/16 diameter, 0.187 inches long. Oh, it is from Jantz Supply. So I don't know if you're going to be able to see all of that. You might get their website. Nice little plug for Jantz. I like Jantz. I've been ordering from them for a long time. The arbor press setup that I have here, just a regular old arbor press. These dies, I want to say I got them from USA Knife Maker. Now you take your rivets, you put them inside the holes. Now I usually like to keep the factory rolled edge to the right side of the knife. So when I wear this, you know, if I wear it on my chest, it's going to be out like this. The edge is going to be facing to my left because I'm right-handed. Alright, so you put those in there. You got a flat thing, or they're poking out the other side. So you stick them in these little forming dies. I suppose if you weren't, you know, like if you weren't making a whole bunch of knives to sell, you just wanted to make your own kydex sheath, you might not go through all this. You might just get a you know, a handheld punch rivet setter. So you just seat them in there, seat them firmly but not tight, and that's how you make your preform. Okay, one more thing here right quick, and then we'll get back to the sheath. The cord. That way I can blow the candle out. Okay, so the cord, I'm just using 550 paracord, 50-foot 7-strand cord, made in the USA. Picked it up at Murdoch's, I believe, for $4.99. I've got marks measured out on my bench. There's one here and one here. So I just hold it up to that, hold it over to there, grab the knife, cut myself a piece. Now we take and we strip the strands out of the inside. I haven't really found a good use for those yet, so I just throw them away. Then we're going to come over here to this candle. Bet you guys thought I was going to be doing like some kind of seance or something with the candle, right? Alright, so I used to do this with a Bic lighter. Takes a lot longer. Just grab a candle, flea market candle, you know, whatever. Do not grab one of your wife's, you know, fancy smelling candles that she uses in the house. Bring it out into the shop. You will get a frying pan upside the head, guaranteed. Okay, got a little bitty, just a little dish of water here. Put your fingers in the water. Heat up the end of that cord. Then as you cool it off, try to make one of these things where you've got some of that extra kind of coming out, and you'll see what that's about here in a little bit also. Do the same thing to the other side. Get it heating up or catch it on fire, whichever. Try to make a little tab like that on the end. Now that 7 will hit for another 7. Now take this one side and just put a simple overhand knot on it, leaving a little bit at the end. Put it on your sanding station right there with the rest of them so they'll be ready to go. Blow out the candle, dunk out the water, and put that away. Okay, so now we got the preform made. We got the 2 rivets installed. We got our neck cord done. We got 6.5 minutes until we get the next one. All right, so now that you have this, here is the one that that I had formed prior to starting the video, just so that we'd have something to work with. Now this right here looks pretty good. I mean, the edge is a little bit close to that rivet, but remember that rivet has got a pretty good flare on it. Okay, so it's not going to contact that rivet, and that'll be just fine. I mean, you never get them absolutely perfect. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to figure out our rivet placement for our rear holes. Okay, so if you have a sheath that you've already made for that particular model, use that. This one right here is just about perfect. It releases easy, yet holds securely. Okay, so if you'll notice my rivet placement on this, it is just slightly ahead of the ricasso. You're going to be able to see that right there. If you're working with a knife that you don't have a pattern for, that's you know, just kind of a one-off, or you know, you're a home knife maker and you're not making a ton of these, grab yourself some spring clamps, some smaller ones, and what you'll do is once the knife comes out, oh, see how tight of a fit we got there? Okay, then what you'll do is you'll hear that sticking sound. Okay, you release your knife, then take your clamps and kind of put them where you think you might want your rear rivets. If you're using rivets, you got one shot at this to make it right. If you're using like Chicago screws, then you can adjust tension with the Chicago screws, but with these rivets you got one shot and that's it. So the edges of these clamps are approximately, so I'd want the rivet right at the corner of this clamp, you know, back in, right about there would be the center of the hole. So insert your knife. If that's about right and it pulls easy, then that's about where you're going to want them. Okay? On this one, like I said, I have the pattern, so it doesn't really matter. So I'm going to go here's the ricasso, so I'm going to go a hair above that on each side. And remember, you have to take into account the thickness or the width of your rivets and everything. But actually, I'll go a little bit outside of this one and maybe dead on that mark. Now, you're not drilling on a flat surface anymore, like what we were with the, you know, making your preform. Okay, so what you'll need to do is get yourself a block of wood to kind of hold that up. Get it lined up to where you can see that mark. Sometimes it's kind of tough to see a pencil mark on a black surface, but you get around right and you can see the shine of it. Make sure that when you do that, you go all the way into the wood so that, you know, you don't leave much of a burr. If I didn't mention it before, this is a 3/16 inch drill bit. Okay, so now we got them 2 holes located. Got the 2 holes located and drilled. We'll take 2 more rivets, stick them in there. Now again, make sure that your factory roll is out. If you get them mixed up, it's not going to affect the performance of it, but it will affect the finished look. Okay, and you can see we might have actually gone a little bit too wide, but that's okay. So we turn those around. Again, firm, but not tight. You squish those down too hard, and what you'll end up doing is you'll split the sidewall of the rivet. And like I said, it doesn't really affect performance, but it doesn't really look all that great. So then we can double check, make sure that our fits in nice. You heard that nice click. And they're going to be a little bit tight to start with. Pops out, right? Now we're going to go to the shaping. So, let's see. We got 1:09 on our next one. So I will grab my safety glasses because I'm going to need those while I'm grinding. And I'll show you how to grind one. So anyway, so we'll take our next preform and get it ready, and as soon as that that timer goes off, actually I had that backwards. We don't go 2 cycles, we go 1. Okay, so you put your preform in the toaster, okay, 7 minutes, right? After 7 minutes, you pull it out, you put the knife into it, you clamp it up, you hit the timer for another 7 minutes, okay? At the end of that 7 minutes, put another preform into the toaster so that while the last one is getting its second 7-minute cycle, you're getting the next preform ready to go. Anyways, should have, that's just part of working in front of the camera, right? Okay, so there goes our timer. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to bother with that because you guys have already seen that. Okay, so our next thing is going to be, okay, shaping the outside of this sheath to make it look, it should help if I got in front of the camera, huh? The next step is going to be shaping the outside of the sheath to where it looks nice and somewhat rounded. Okay? Alright, so we won't need the knife for this. We're going to come over here to the bandsaw with the foot switch. Okay, this is just a regular old DeWalt. I've got another video on it. But what we're going to do here is I've got a fine tooth blade on. I don't use a push stick, I use a foot switch. Okay, so that foot switch gives me a lot of control, you know, as to when that when that blade is running and when it isn't. So all I'm going to do is kind of rough in an oval shape, just up here. Down here we'll do that with a grinder. See? Very, very roughed in, okay? But we're going to fix that and make it look all pretty and stuff. Okay, so then we come over to the belt grinder. Grinding kydex sucks, okay? It's stinky, it's nasty. Wear a respirator when you do this, okay? I'm not going to put my respirator on because I'm talking to you guys, and, you know, one evening probably isn't going to hurt me with, you know, just grinding one sheath. But wear your respirator with this stuff. Also use belts that, this is going to be the last time you use that belt, okay, because the kydex, it gums up the belt something fierce. A wire wheel won't clean it out, the eraser style things won't clean it out. I mean, it's just nasty. Okay, so pretty much what we're going to do here, I'll try to put you over here so you won't be in the way, is we're just going to kind of clean up this nasty, you know, like where I came in too straight and not straight enough here, and just kind of make it, you know, a pleasing profile to the sheath. Okay, so that's from there up, pretty much roughed in, and looking okay. It's a little bit more angular than what I normally do, but and if you'll notice, I'm standing over here where I normally stand, right where you're standing right now. So now we're going to round off the bottom of this and make it look nice too. Okay, so we are done on the, that's an old worn out 36 grit. Now we have got a well used 220, and we're gonna clean up you know, the edges. You can see here where that belt, you know, overheated it and it kind of melted it. So we're gonna need to get rid of all that, get the outside edge looking nice and smooth, refine our edge or our profile and everything, and then knock the little bitty burr that's going to be caused by the 220 off of it also. Okay, so all that looks pretty good, nice and smooth, but now we've got that nasty burr. So we'll just deburr that. You'll notice how I did my shaping on the platen and then smoothed it out on the slack belt. It's because a slack belt gives you a much nicer finish across that kind of a length on this stuff. Okay, so once we got it all deburred and everything, you'll always have this kind of crap on the inside. So you just kind of open up the mouth of the sheath and kind of pull it out. The sheath is looking pretty good. Okay, now tap the, I usually tap that on the anvil as I walk past, but that gets any junk and anything that's in there out. Kydex will always scratch your knife blades, but that helps a little bit. Okay, so, well, I should say they always scratch the knife blades when I do them. I mean, I've seen guys that tape their blades and put them in there, and that gives them enough room to where the kydex doesn't scratch the blades, but I can't imagine that that loosens up the fit at the same time. And I like them to fit really tight. And yeah, anyways. So now what we got to do is we got to make our attachment point for the neck cord. Okay, and all we're going to do is take 3/4 of the width of the saw blade and push it in about here and about here, being careful to stay out of the profile that you can see that's impressed into the knife. So we come up about like this. Kind of even them up if you can. even them up if you can to where they're, you know, pretty close. Okay, so now we walk past the anvil, and of course I got the box. Tap that to get rid of the junk. Okay, so here, let's see, we will do it over here. Alright, so this sheath right here has had plenty of time to set up. I'm going to go ahead and take it out. I guess I can show it to you. See? Nice, perfectly formed sheath. Got some nice definition. Didn't get quite as close to a fit on that one, but these knives, what they do, okay, so when you're building a kydex knife, you have to have a place for the kydex to act as a cam. Okay, so this particular pattern, this is I call them a Carter pattern neck knife, because I got the pattern out of Murray Carter's 100 knife designs. Okay, but what happens is, see right up in here, that kydex is grabbing onto this finger groove right here. So it can't come out until you open it up enough to go past that. See what I mean? So it's grabbing it right here. Alright? So now what we got to do is we got to turn this flat part right here, and we got to turn those little ears that we put in there out. So the way we do that is with paint stripper again. Clamp the paint stripper up into your vise loosely. You clamp it in there too tight, you crack the case, and that's not going to be a good thing. We're going to bring it out here at a little bit more comfortable angle. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to form these and then kind of tweak them in just a little bit. So what you'll, I've got a 5/32 bit, because that that most closely resembles the outside diameter of our paracord. So what I'm going to do here, and you'll see it here in a second, when I turn this on, the heat's going to come out in a cone. Okay, so I don't want to heat up any more of this sheath than what I absolutely have to. I just want to heat up this little corner right here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold it like this and then bring that corner into the heat stream. Okay, heat up this side of the corner, rotate it this way, heat up that side of the corner, rotate it this way, heat up that side of the corner, until I can see it. What'll happen is as you're heating it up, this crease right here will start going away and it'll become much more rounded. Okay, at that point what I do is I take my drill bit, I insert it into that, push it all the way through, and then twist it in just a little bit so that drill bit can kind of sort of, I mean, you don't want to pass it all the way through, that's too much, but you just want to tweak it a little bit so there's enough room, maybe 1/8 of an inch, you know, that this will be pushed in like that. Just enough room to where that cord can slip past. Remember which way you want the knife to be on your chest. Okay, so like I said, I'm going to wear this to where the finished side of the rivets is facing away from me. So the side that I formed is going to be close to my chest. So when I put the drill bit in, I want to come in this way. Same way on this side, come in, twist it that way. This we don't need the glasses. And what I want is for the heat just to hit that corner. So I'm kind of turning it back and forth and keeping the body of the sheath out of that cone of heat. as well as keeping my fingers out of the heat, because these paint strippers can get kind of hot. We're almost there. Okay, once it's all flexible, then you get your drill bit in there and you twist it in just a little bit. And then you just hold it there. You might have to come back and kind of hold that crease if you let the heat get away from you. Okay, so that's formed. Now it's solid. Now we'll do the same thing to the other side. Get your drill bit in place, twist it just a bit, and then hold it there until it cools. And it don't take long. Bam, done. Turn your paint stripper off and then turn it over. If you don't, you'll burn your paint stripper up, because that heat will want to come back up here into the motor, into the fan. So you turn it up so that that heat can dissipate naturally. We're almost done, fellas. I say fellas, but you know, you could be girls. There's girl knife makers out there, right? Okay. So when I twisted this one out, I got a little bit of a kind of a hard spot there. So when we get done, I'll just kind of go hit it on the sander a little bit just to get rid of that burr. So now what we do is we take our cord that I showed you how to make. Okay, we go inside. That's where that long tab that I told you that everybody, you know, tries not to make when you heat seal this cord. Guess what? That makes like a little needle. Once you get it passed in there, then you can grab that. Oh, it busted off. Figures, huh? Okay, pull the knot all the way tight on that side. This side's usually kind of a bear to get to. Needle nose pliers. And if this doesn't work, then you can grab a drill bit or a pin or something and then push it through. Okay, so we pull that through, we make a knot, just an overhand knot. Then you can take these little things off if you want to. Okay, now we have a neck knife, right? But we still need to cut it for our safety feature. So this makes a loop, the kydex makes a loop through which the paracord goes through. So we just need to cut the inside loop. So you hold your cord away so that you won't cut it. You come up to the inside, make a cut straight down. Same thing on this side. Okay, you make those little cuts right there. So now when that cord gets stressed, see how that cut is opening up? Okay, so now you get hung up on this, you know, you jump down from a ladder or something and all of a sudden, you know, something catches this cord. Now those things give you a chance. I mean, I don't know how to test them and how to guarantee them or anything, but there's a chance built in there for you. Okay, I wouldn't go testing it on yourself. You know, find a weight scale or something like that to be able to, you know, to test it out on. But it gives you a fighting chance, maybe, right? And if not, if you can get up there, reach up, grab a hold of that cord and strip it down, it should be able to break it. Okay, so now that we've got all that excess kydex off, pop it in, pop it out. Pop it in, pop it out. Sometimes, if I get too tight of a fit up in here, okay, I'll take that that paint stripper and kind of open these up just a little bit. You know, open it up and kind of form it like we did these, and that'll make, you know, resheathing it go an awful lot faster. Then pretty much, you know, a drop or two of mineral oil on your knife, and it lubricates the inside of the sheath. And you know, usually these will have to break in, you know, 10-20 cycles or a week or so of using it, and it'll be just about perfect, just like that one is. Nice and slick, yet, you know, good hold and everything. Now, to adjust these sheaths, you know, to adjust your carry, your ride height of the sheath, all you have to do is pull the cord down and tie another knot. Bam. Adjust it. Okay. You can do that temporarily, you know, or you can cut the cord and, you know, keep it that height all the time. Just kind of depends on what you want to do. Like I said, usually when I carry a neck knife, I mean, I've got a couple of them, you know, the prototypes and whatever steel that I made them out of, and I can't get rid of them because we've got a history together now. So some of them I have, you know, set up for a neck carry. My favorites are set up to where, you know, they're a belt carry, you know, and that you've probably seen it in some of my other videos, you know, nice ride height and everything. So anyway, so that right there is how to make a kydex neck knife sheath. I will say, try not to grind into the sides of your rivets. You know, this side I came really close but didn't quite touch it. You know, I mean, for kydex sheaths, they're really nice. I mean, for me, kydex isn't as classy as like a good leather sheath. But then again, a leather sheath, I mean, I get really good tight fits on my sheath, my leather sheaths, and I suppose I could do this, but kydex works so much better for neck knives, you know, for the upside down type neck knives. A sheath like this will last until you either leave it on the dashboard of your car and on a hot summer day, in which case you'll get up way over that 300 degrees and your sheath will start opening it up, and it pretty much ruins it. You'd have to reform it again, you know, because I mean, I've seen them, they dang near melted the thing. The other thing is, once you wear the knife down to about half the width or so, you know, they start kind of wobbling back and forth a little bit. Not really a whole lot you can do about that. That's not really the sheath wearing out, that's the knife wearing out. You know, knives, pretty much anything that we make has got a expiration date on it, and the more you use it, the closer that expiration date gets. Anyway, so I hope you enjoyed the video. You know, if you've never worked with kydex, hopefully that'll give you a couple of hints on how to get started and make some really good sheaths. Or if you just want to see how a kydex sheath is made, that's pretty. I think that's a pretty good video. Like I said, the most important thing with kydex is experiment with your time and temperature. Make sure everything's as consistent as you possibly can. Use a timer. Use that double broiler or double boiler setup that I showed you that I made for the toaster. Oven thermometers inside your toaster. Get a log. Test. Once you find out what works for you, write all that stuff down. That way, if your toaster burns up, you can go grab another one and you'll be pretty close with your oven thermometers as to where you need to be. And then it's just a whole bunch of trial and error and testing until you find something that you like, and then keep trying to improve on it. You know, I made these sheaths for a while, and I had the type that the neck cord went through the rivets. And then I got hung up on one. Luckily, it wasn't something that, you know, was life-threatening. And decided I didn't really like that, so I ended up coming up with this breakaway style. and I've made them that way ever since. That breakaway style, not only does it give you a chance, but you'll see that since the cord is coming from the sides, your sheath will tend to want to twist on your chest less. You know, it keeps it more stable. And then it gives you that safety feature. Now that safety feature, you can only use it a couple of times. Every time you use that safety feature, it weakens those tabs. So at some point, you'll have to make a new sheath for it, or call me up and send me your knife, and I'll have to make a new sheath for you. And then reevaluate whatever it is that you're getting into, that you're, you know, activating the safety feature on that so much. Anyway, this is Joe Calton with Calton Cutlery. You can find me on the web, caltoncutlery.com. I hope you enjoyed the video, and we will see you next time.